were no cell phones back then, so I couldn't, So I just sat there and waited, and until it was my flight. And the funny thing is, the flight back was with them. So I had to take the flight back with my former band and stuff.
Oh, my.
And strangely,
did you not know that? Didn't you guys have
no,
schedules?
I knew, I expected it and stuff. And the guys, so by that time, Mike wasn't in the band temporarily because he halfway about through the tour, he got chicken pox for the third time in his life. Like, you're not supposed to get
dangerous
chicken pox.
as an adult at all. Yeah.
So we wanted to keep going, and so we flew him home. He was really homesick, and I think it kind of was
that can fuck with you.
His mind kind of.
Gary, this business is not for everybody. When it comes to the touring, you better.
I just found that out again.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I whenever I go on, fast forward real quick. Last time I went on tour this year with my new band, I warned everybody, and it still didn't make a difference. They didn't hear me because when they got back, one of the guys pretty much left because I can't do that, But anyways, so we had to fly Mike back. Then we flew Nick St. Dennis, who had, I think, played with them for a little while.
I know Nick.
Yeah. And he took over Mike's. So he took over my stuff because he knew my parts. So I had to take a couple days to learn Mike's
Wasn't he
parts.
in propane for a minute?
Yeah, he was in propane.
He was in propane.
So he finished out the tour with us. On the flight back, the guys come and hung out with me, except for Steve, because Steve was still mad at me and stuff. So me and Paul and Nick got drunk on the plane and had a good old time. And
well, that's cool.
And since then, I've got back together with Skin Lab once, and we did a year-long thing and went up to Alaska and stuff.
That's cool.
So it's all good. It's all water under the bridge and stuff, I thought I should have been given a second chance back then, But
so what year was it that you were
wasn't.
handed your when you were handed the papers?
That was 97.
97,
so
98.
Yeah. So after I got home, I got really fucked up on drugs again, and that kind of took me away from
music.
Everything. Everything. I didn't have a place to live. I didn't have any equipment anymore to speak of. I was pretty much homeless, drug addict in the streets of San Francisco and stuff for not a long period of time, 6-9 months or something. But then there was like the vicious cycle. I'd go to a rehab or something, get cleaned up a little bit, then fall off the wagon, and that happened for. And even in that time, I moved to L.A. and lived with my brother. First, my father passed away, so we moved into his place, and we were living the high life in like Brentwood in the canyon, and it was this really nice ranch style house. And I wasn't using any hard drugs back then, but I was drinking. And
were you working? Was there any income?
I was
at this
working.
time?
With the exception of the time I was homeless, I've worked pretty much my whole life. I've always had a day job. Unless there was that, except for that 9-month period. So I moved to LA, and then my sister got all pissed off because basically me and my brother were like living the high life, and she's like, well, I'm still working and paying rent and stuff, because we weren't paying rent. The house was owned by the family. So then we sold that house, unfortunately.
And split it 3 ways or whatever.
And bought another house down there and one here in Dublin. So my sister lives up here in Dublin.
Nice.
She lives pretty close to you, actually. So we moved back then, and it kind of, we had a really good thing. And Rob, my brother, had this great band, and they were doing really well, and there was a little scene around them and stuff, and it's really fun and healthy and great. And they kicked him out because he didn't want to go in the same direction they wanted to go in. They wanted to go into like, I guess, some kind of more poppy realm. And he just wanted, because they were like a kind of like a Mofessionals type thing with like rap over like a band, like a real a live band and stuff. And they would do like jazz and funk and rock, and they do it all together. And
right.
Rob was one of the MCs on there. And then when that happened and we moved to this place, it just, I don't know, I was not feeling LA at the time, and I started.
And what year was this, Gary? Was this right after?
This is way later. This is
later.
Like early 2000.
Early 2000s now. Okay.
So I got really bad into cocaine for a while, like really bad, until like my mom came down to visit us and saw me, and she's like, you need to go back to rehab. So
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
So
How
I
many
did.
times is this now for rehab? 2?
I've
Is this
been
the
to
second
rehab.
time?
I went to rehab once when I was 17. I went to the same one twice. Yeah, once there. I think 4 times total.
Wow. Well, you know what they say. Nobody likes a quitter, right? So,
Addiction runs in my family, you know.
Uh-huh.
So,
well, you look good now, by the way, bro.
I'm doing good. I
Good.
smoke a little weed. I like to drink, maybe a little too much sometimes, but I'm good, you know. So, anyways, so I got clean again, and while this is the thing. So while I was in rehab this time, there was a guitar there. And this kind of goes along with my new band name and everything. So I was in rehab, but most of the time I tell a story, I don't tell the rehab part.
I want the rehab part.
Okay, so there were 2 houses, and one of them had like the long-term clients in it that were either there because they kept failing at getting clean or because they were sent there by the state instead of jail or whatever, or prison or even. So I first tried the short-term one, but that was really expensive. This one cost nothing. So after I failed at the short-term one and went to the long-term one, they did these things called head checks at night to make sure everybody was there, especially if they were there because the state said they had to be there. So I was one of the guys he was a former client who now worked there, did these nightly head checks, and it was there was one house. The house of the short-term clients used to be owned by the Hearst family, right?
Wow.
The newspaper family.
No, I know theirs quite well.
And he was going up. There was like a curved staircase with a banister or whatever you call it, and it was a really nice place. And he was about to walk from the bottom floor to the top floor, and he saw like this glowing orb, like just appear out of nowhere and then just start deliberately like going down the stairs, not in a straight line, but actually following the path of the staircase, and then just like disappeared right in front of him. So I live next door to that house. That's where I got the name The Ghost Next Door. So it was a ghost next door for me. So anyways, while I was there, I think the first time I was there, there was a guitar there. So I started playing. I didn't have any guitars anymore. So I started playing this guitar. I started writing stuff. And for some reason, all of a sudden I could write. Like before, I could write, but it was like a long process, you know, for me to figure out what would be good for a verse, what would be good for a chorus, what would be good for an intro. All of a sudden, all this stuff was just coming at me. Like, I would just...
Like destiny.
It was almost like I was writing, like, kind of like free flow, you know, of ideas. And so I even started writing, like, lyrics and stuff, and I never really wrote lyrics before.
Really?
So I wrote, like, 10 songs while I was there and started this band. And at first we were totally what I wanted to do with release.
And now you're clean. You were cleaning up, or you were done clean at this. Was the last time around on that?
This was, I think so. Yeah, I think this is the very last time I was in.
And what year was this, Gary? What year did this idea, The Ghost Next Door, come?
2013.
Okay,
no, 2003.
2003.
Yeah, so it was a long time.
So you worked on it for a while before you were kind of actually came out.
We went through a lot of incantations. Like at first, it was really like jangly guitar pop music kind of stuff. Like, but you know, probably not a lot of the listeners here have heard of a band called the Red House Painters from San Francisco, but they were like a huge influence, and still are. And so it was kind of like that. They call that music like kind of sadcore. You know, it was kind of depressing music. I like depressing music. I don't like happy music. So
I don't either.
I started that.
I play metal. There's nothing happy.
I started that like that,
metal.
And the same kind of thing happened with that. I met people through Craigslist on that one. We first were, I want to say 5-piece. We had drums. We had 2 guitar players, drum, bass, and then me, who was the 3rd guitar player, but I also sang. And I played and sang, and I played on an acoustic, and then I had 2 electric guitar players. That lineup didn't last for very long. We played like 1 show or something. And then we did, two of the guys left, and then we became a trio. And we continued kind of doing that kind of vein of music for a minute, but then we just started slowly kind of playing a little bit heavier, and a little bit heavier, and a little bit heavier. And
Again, the natural progression of what you were brought up on.
So it just kind of gradually went over to that. And I did a couple of demos of the poppy stuff, and then I did one demo of the stuff that ended up being some of it being on our first record. So we did a record, and I did it with a friend because I didn't have no money. I did it with a friend who had just graduated from Expressions, right? And he didn't really know what he was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. So what we came up with sounded awful. I had one of the early modeling amps and stuff, so it just did not sound good at all. I remember talking to, I'm losing it. One of the chicks, the chick producer, I can't remember her name, that worked with the early Tool stuff.
Sylvia.
Yeah.
She worked with us.
Yeah, Sylvia Massey.
Sylvia worked with us.
Yeah. I had contacted her. I'm like, is there anything I can do with this? She's like, yeah, re-record it with a tube amp. So I did. So I ended up learning how to use Pro Tools myself, got a Pro Tools rig, re-recorded all the guitars, re-edited a bunch of it, and shopped it. And
what year is this now?
2015, when the actual record came out. I probably shopped it, started in 2014. Man, it could have been 2015.
Yeah, because Sylvia's a heavy hitter now.
Yeah,
she was just a second engineer.
I didn't even work with her. I just asked her advice because I knew other people that
very respected.
Definitely
knows what she's doing. I have to give her.
I used to bother Andy Sneap for.
Oh yeah.
Now I bother Juan.
Yeah, well that's it. We had him in. I'm going to have him in again, right? I'm going to have Juan in again I had him in earlier for an episode on studio and just talk about.
He's great.
I love him. I did the Atriot records with him.
Yeah.
I recorded the Creature feature song with him. I did this comedy thing, Take On Me, for Brian Posehn's record.
Oh, nice.
Come out, and Juan did the recording, so I trust Juan. If I know something needs to be done right, I call him.
He's very generous with his time,
and he is generous, and he's good. And we're talking about Juan Urtiaga from Trident Studios, and he's in Pacheco. If you need your recording needs, go to Juan Urtiaga.
He's a man.
He is a man.
So we had a lawyer that had worked with us for quite some time. We kind of paid him on a retainer, and he just continues to work with us, and he shopped it. This time he shopped it, and because I didn't really know what I was doing on that end, and so I helped as much as I could, and we got picked up by Mausoleum.
You're a musician, bro. It ain't your fucking job to know that shit, man.
No, it is. So we signed with Mausoleum Records. So we did one record with them, and then Alfie Falkenbach, the president, died. He died of cancer, just kind of out of the blue. So it took me 3 or 4 years to find out who had my record, so I could own it again. Because I was like, I never got one dime out of it because anything that was collected went with him to the grave. I don't fucking know.
Or somebody picked it up. Some trust picked it up.
I didn't fucking get
exactly.
it. So anyway, we have gone through many, many lineup changes. We're in the middle of doing a whole nother lineup change. We just lost our bassist.
So who's in the current lineup? Of
we don't have a drummer right now. So we just lost our drummer this week.
So those people in the Bay Area who watch this, they are a Bay Area band?
Yeah. So right now we just hired a new bass player named Shane, and then my second in command guitar player Aaron, and he's been in the band for about 5 years now.
Great.
So he's a keeper. Shane's a new bass player. He's a good kid from Redwood City. So we have some auditions coming. But anyways, so throughout we had this certain lineup. We did a little tour after the first record came out. Then I'd already started writing stuff for the second one. And so we recorded it we got a new drummer at the time, and we had our longtime bassist, Seanan. And we've gone through so many fucking lineup changes.
Welcome to rock and roll, right, bro?
So we did that record. We started working on this next one. We recorded it over with Juan. We did the drums with Juan. We did everything else at Snake Greens from Skin Labs.
Yeah,
Devil, California. His spot. It got mixed. I wasn't happy with the mix. So I'm like, I went back to Juan. I'm like, Juan, is there something we can work out together, right? So me and Juan he had the final mix, but I helped him with it because just to save money, he would like make a template mix for me and stuff, and I would just kind of like copy it onto the other songs,
just tweak it
then
a little
bring
bit.
it, then bring it back to him, and then he'd go over everything and fix what I fucked up or leave what I,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So it was kind of ended up being a group effort because some of the stuff that Snake ended up doing stayed, some of the stuff that I came up with stayed, and a lot of what Juan did kind of stayed. So we did that. This time, my lawyer was suffering from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he was just kind of recovering
Damn,
from it.
dude.
So I was like, you know what? Just look over the contracts and stuff and negotiate that for me. So I will.
And
I
this
will
was
do
for
all the
what label?
shopping. Well, we hadn't found a label
Oh,
yet.
you hadn't found one yet.
So we went and I shopped it to fucking. I have kind of this guy that I'm not going to name names and stuff that like gets me all the email addresses for anybody who's anybody kind of thing, you know. And he got me instead of like going through the whole process, submission
And there's
process.
a process.
Yeah, I wanted to
know
go
it.
straight to those guys and stuff because
Cool.
I don't the record was made. I didn't need anybody to give me money to make a record. I just
Right.
wanted to put it out, get like a licensing deal for this one, and so I shopped it and got some interest, but nothing concrete. I got declined from a few. Some I never heard anything from. Tried to actually involve some people I thought were friends to kind of fucking help me out and stuff like that, and not do anything like more than like listen kind of thing. And that was kind of a disappointment. So I ended up just like going through all the labels I could think of, and one of them was Ripple Music, which is a local label that are totally coming up. They have a few local bands like Zed and
Tell 'em
the
what they have.
Watchers
Cool.
on the label. What Black Wolf?
Where are they at to talk about them? Where's Ripple? Where are they from?
They're San Ramon, I think they're based.
Nice. Close by.
Run by two guys, Todd Severin and Pope John, and
Awesome.
they're great guys.
If you're happy with it, that makes all the world.
They've so far done everything they said they
Great.
were going to do, and I feel like I'm part of a family and stuff, and it's nice that they're here rather than in Belgium where Mausoleum
That makes all the
was,
sense, yeah.
Right. So they liked what they heard, and they were like into it from like day one, and so we started the process and released the record.
And
through
when did it
them.
get released?
That was February 8th of this year.
February 8th.
To critical acclaim.
Great.
Yeah. So, and then we toured a little bit after that. All of us work, so
I understand. It's so hard.
We
It is.
weren't
It really
able
is.
to like tour as much as I would have liked for this record. Hopefully, I mean, the drummer who's quitting the band now, Sebastian, he's got 2 little kids and stuff like that.
I went
so-
through all of that.
Yeah.
I'll tell that story sometime too, because it's almost sad. It's terrible.
So he couldn't really risk his job or anything like that. You know what I mean? To do this tour. So we did a tour for about 2 weeks and 2 days. We did California and the southern states.
How did everybody dig it?
It was great, man. People loved
Now,
it
let me
and
ask you a
stuff.
question. Does
I mean,
any
playing
of the
El
old-
Paso on a Monday in a area you've never played before.
Well, people
you know?
don't understand that the touring doesn't just go Friday and Saturday night. If you're on tour, especially on your level and even on Exodus
Yeah, you
level,
gotta do it every day.
we're playing 6 nights a week. You know what I mean? 5 nights a week at least. Sometimes 7. We just did one in Europe, 17 shows in a row, Gary, in a row. Wow. So it's just like you have to hit it, and I understand that type of thing. So
We're just paying our dues, you know,
right.
on
You're
the
just
road.
getting up. So
And I warned them all like before we
Oh,
left. them
yeah,
all,
sure.
There's gonna be some good shows. And there's gonna be a lot of like.
I call them clunkers. I call them it's a clunker. Did you see the crowd out there tonight? It's a clunker. So I call them clunkers. It's just the way it is. Well, tell everybody where they can get this record that's out right now. And if you've got anything coming up, tell everybody for everybody in the rest of the world. I guess you're fucked. But if you live in the Bay Area or somewhere,
No,
let us know.
it's available worldwide and stuff.
No, I mean shows.
Oh, shows.
Tell where you can get the record, and then
Okay,
tell us
so the
about
record
shows.
you can get at all the streaming sites. The record's called Feast for the Sixth Sense. It's on Ripple Music.
The Ghost Next Door.
We're called The Ghost Next Door. It's you can get it like Apple Music, You can get it on Bandcamp. You can order it from the label.
Spotify, all that crap.
It's on Spotify. It's everywhere.
Great.
It's everywhere. As far as like any more shows, so this is the interesting part. So after that tour, I just really started writing like crazy. I work over at Dunlop Manufacturing and stuff, and I test guitar strings, so I come up with a lot of ideas while I'm at work and stuff. And
wow,
the
what a great job that is.
The way I write these days is kind of like the way I wrote when I first started this band. Is it's all like stream of consciousness, kind of not the lyrics, but the music. It's almost like
what grabs you basically.
This part starts a song. Where do I take it from there, right? So I've written about 2 albums worth of material right now.
Really?
I'm demoing them all.
So then you're gonna start recording.
I want to release 2 records next year.
Really? Next year?
I want to do like 6 months apart.
Nobody does that anymore.
Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Volume 2.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So that's obviously the label has to be behind it and stuff like that. But
cool.
It'd be like two 8-song records and stuff.
That's awesome. So anything Facebook now, or anything they can go and get you guys? Instagram,
we're on
Twitter,
Facebook, Instagram. Twitter, I should do more of. We're on Twitter, but I haven't really messed that too much. I haven't really.
And there's music up on these sites where they can check it out.
If you go on YouTube,
right,
man, they stream the whole record on there.
Any live stuff they can see on YouTube? Any videos?
There's some live stuff on YouTube. Right. Nothing that I fully put my stamp on and stuff. Right?
Well, it's YouTube. Who gives a shit? Some guy in a fucking going like this, it's all right.
But as far as like shows, we're playing Zed's record release show at the Club Fox on July 13th with Swamp Hammer, and it's in Redwood City.
I love the Club Fox.
And
just
we're working on a show with us and the Devil in California. It was at one venue, but
another great band.
It's getting moved to another venue, possibly another day.
And if that's this summer?
That'll be the end of the summer. And then we're going to go, our booking agent's working on something in LA, and then also we're going to do the Pacific Northwest.
Really? So
Labor Day weekend?
Really?
Yeah.
So in a couple of months, you're talking Seattle,
Oregon, Portland, Eugene.
That kind of thing?
Yeah, Seattle, Portland, Eugene.
Well, everybody look out for them. He has a history of Bay Area music. You're a mainstay here, brother. Thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you so much.
So great to have you. We can bring you back in again and talk about more stuff. They
are
the Ghost Next Door. If you're around on the areas, go see them. Check them out online. This is Bay Area musicians at its best. These are guys that I'm trying to bring in the best of, and they're still playing amazing music. I'm glad that you're still doing it. It lets the world know that the Bay Area sound and the people that originated what we did, and what I'm still doing actually. Thanks to all the fans that still love it. Exactly. We're still keeping it alive. So you guys leave me comments, because, I'll do an episode where we talk about the comments, and let me know. If you were at a Sacrilege show back in the day, talk about it. If you've seen any of the bands that he's been up there, if you've seen him in Released, let's talk about it. If you've seen him in Skid Lab, leave me comments, and obviously subscribe to my channel and shit, brother.
Yes, subscribe to his channel. Yes.
Good to have you in, man. We'll see you real soon, and we'll see all you guys real soon in the vault.